I hope like we are pretty aware about how what will be the next phase of migrations. We have to really go with the T migrations, and this is all about. I think there's a lot of echo. Yeah. So anyhow, like we have to go with the T migration because V is going to come with the end of support, and that's why we have to move ahead with the T migrations. But there are some basic strategies that we need to follow, and that is the basic fundamentals we are going to discuss today. Obviously, it can't be done in one shot, like as like any another sets of migration. It has to be adopted properly, and then only we can go with the migration phases. So obviously, there are some phases that we need to go through. As first thing is the discovery. What is our use cases and what is our current design? And on that basis only, we have to plan for the next set of things. Obviously, the next phase is try to deploy NSX-T in your POC or lab and get the feeling of the product line, how it is more different from V, and what we are going to get with the NSX-T. Because as I was keep on telling from my last sessions, it's not very similar what you have experienced with NSX-V. NSX-T will be a little bit different in aspect of designing and in aspect of deploying the solutions. So we have done this phases like discovery phases we have done. We have like our use cases ready, and somehow like we have like almost done the designing phase. So the next phase is the POC and trial. So this is the one that we are doing from last 1 month. We have done a lot set of designs, and we have verified which of them will be our proper sets of solutions. So this is the next phase. Obviously, the next one is education that we have been delivering, the training to our team, and just to get the feeling that how NSX-T works. But obviously, we can go through again all this set of phases. But the next one is more like how we are going to run NSX-V at side, and we can have NSX-T. So that's why like we are going to get the operational differences, what we have been doing right now with V, how we are going to do in NSX-T. So that's the major differences we have to make in our mindsets. Like if customers is being telling that I have to enable some routing, so how you're doing that on NSX-V. Obviously, it's not going to be pretty same in NSX-T. So we need to have a good hands-on on that part. And after having a proper set of confidence, then only we will move ahead with the migration phases. So this is a set of phases which has been defined by most of the customers who has already went through this migrations, and this is the way that even we are going to adopt. Now, there are many ways of migration approaches. What we have to decide is it like we are going to do lift and shift, or whether we will be doing in-place migrations. So obviously, like the forum is pretty open to really discuss about the approaches, but the well-suited one is the how we will be moving from V to T by having a lift and shift kind of environment. Like we will have NSX-V, which is already current in our design, and parallelly we can create the NSX-T environment. So this is one of the approaches which most of the customers are being following with VMware. So when we will try to follow some forum or blogs, you'll see 99% of the customers are following these approaches. Good thing of this approach would be that if I want to renew my hardwares, like some hardwares we have been running with the older blades, we can get opportunity to really go with the NSX-T by like deploying the things on the new hardware. So that is one of the thing that we can really think about. But yeah, there are many advantages of really going with this aspect. If you want to restructure, redesign your whole infra, you can do that. So this is the best time that you can really think about. But the another one is the in-place migration. Like whatever V environment you have, you can start to do the migrations on the same boxes itself. But again, in this kind of situations, you will see there would be downtime that you have to expect, and it all depends upon the codes, whether it is stable code or not. So I would say it's kind of a risky one, but again, some of the customers still follow this approaches. So it will be very good in lab environment, but when you talk about from a workload side, from a customer's workload, or could be the management workload, I would still go with the migration phases where like we will be moving on a new hardwares. New hardwares like we will be having a new blades where we will be having NSX-T installed. So this is being called as in parallel migrations. The other one is called as in place migrations. Now, what are the tools that we have? I know like I'm going to like be fast on my slides, but I would my aim is that to demo you more things from a practical aspect. I'm not going to bore you guys on the theory side. So obviously, like from a migration tool side, VMware does give you support of migration tools. So when T came up in the market, so they also started to develop their migration tools by which customers can use these tools. It's basically an automations which happens at the backend, and they give you the support of different sets of design because redesigns is not going to be very straightforward. So they came up with multiple versions of their migration tools, and they have started to adopt more number of designs. But which of them is going to suitable for us, we will try to understand those aspects. So migration coordinator is one of the tool which you will find out in NSX-T event. You can use the NSX-T with the backend automation tools what is being provided to it. That is one of the approach, or else like you can coexist with VNT, deploy your NSX-T separately, and start to do the migrations from a VM aspect. So whole idea is that you create the environment and run the show on V as well as on the NSX-T. And whenever you like it's suitable from your customers downtime, you can move ahead and you can do the migrations. So either could be from a vCenter level,
has joined the meeting.
Storage vMotion aspect, like whatever the approaches that you want to really follow, you can go ahead with that. But what is our use cases that we need to understand? That is the first phase of our migrations planning. So always remember that we have two sets of domain. One is management domain, where like our management devices are being deployed and what set of features we are using on NSX-V, we need to identify those things. So that's going to be called as a management domain. So if you want to really understand, that is VC01, which we have in KC as well as in HRC sites. So that comes under the management domain. But when you come down to the customer's environment, that we are going to define it as a workload domain, okay, where the customer's traffics are being handled by NSX. And we have to really go through some phases of designs where like we need to have a proper discussions. But what we have underneath of management domain is the DFW. It's distributed firewall that is being only used. We are not at all using VXLAN in management domain. So that's one thing that you have to take in your mind. But when you talk about in workload domain, we have a mix of environment where like we have VXLAN that is being running, but this VXLAN is not running on the native vCenter. Rather, it is running on a VCD layers. So obviously, VCD has to also adopt NSX-T. What set of designs is supported on VCD that we need to really explore. So that talks, we are going to take it later on, how VCD networking works with NSX-T. Probably in the next sessions, I'm planning to have that sessions where like, what would be tier 0, tier 1 routing under VCD. So that's not today's topic. And how we will be doing the migration, that will be again a separate topic. So today our major topic would be on management domain, how the migrations will be taking place. That will be done with the help of migrator coordinator, which is available in NSX-T. But as I was telling, NSX-T with a migration coordinator, they they started with some phases of it, some designs which will be supported. This design won't be supported. So in the current version of NSX-T, where we have 3.1 version, it does support DFW only options. And this is the one of the cases that we have in our management domain. So well and good, we can go with this approach also. Or else the another approach is that just copy the configurations of your firewall, basically it's the DFW, and paste that same configuration in NSX-T. So this option is with the help of APIs that we can take as an approach. And wherever the VMs are being deployed on NSX-T, just do the migrations, just do the vMotions there. So that is also another set of approach that we can follow. But with the migration coordinator, you will get to know what are the changes which is happening at the backside, and you can get the better feeling about it. For the VCD, we will see that we will have a different tool. It is specially made only for VCD migrations only, because our use cases is not a native vCenter. It is a VCD backed VMs what we have. So this topic I'm not going to take this month. Probably we will take it next month when we will be finalizing our designs, how VCD is going to work behind the scene of NSX-T. So in today's sessions, we will try to see how we will be doing the migration of management domains. So in current version, we have 6.4.5, that is the NSX-V version. From a vCenter point of view, we have 6.7. And from an ESXi level, we have a mix of different WIPs which has been installed in our environment. So I've taken a sample of it, from HRC side. In KCM, moreover, we will be finding it the same set of versions. But again, you need to understand what would be the difference if we go with 6.7 as in the migration, or if it is going to be 7.0, what will be the difference there? So this is the one thing which I expect from you to take down from the sessions. Like in 6.7, what is the options we have, and in 7.2, how different it would be. So this is the thing which we need to really understand. So if we have not upgraded our current environment, so in that case, we can go with 6.7. But if we have upgraded our environment in 7.0, and then we go for the migration, the steps will be a little bit different, what we are going to expect. So this is the lab environment, what I have created. I haven't created for 7.0, probably
has joined the meeting.
Really understand that things, maybe we can follow up on that. So this is the whole set of informations from a theoretical point of view, but I would expect that let's try to do the practical approach in a better way.
Has left the meeting.
But now, if you have any questions, let me know, on the theoretical side. Any questions? All right, so if there's any question, I have already created a small set of
has
labs.
Joined the meeting.
And I'll try to walk you through what is the what I have got in my network right now. So if we will take a look, I have created one ESXi which will be under NSX-T. There will be another ESXi which will be under NSX-V. So the first point that you have to always note it out, ESXi can't have V and T WIPs at the same time. Okay, it can either have a V as an WIP, or it can have NSX-T. So that's the one thing. That's why I have got two sets of ESXi. For the demo purpose, I have created one NSX-T separately. Similarly, I have got NSX-V manager because I'm going to test only the DFW. I'm not going to test anything on the edges or onto the DLR concepts. And similarly, I have a vCenter separately that I've created. So lab point of view, it's a smaller sets. I haven't done any many number of. I don't want to make it more complex to understand the things. So if I take a look on vCenter, on the current vCenter, I have created a data center. I have created a separate cluster of NSX-T, and I have a separate cluster of NSX-V, where I do have ESXi, which does have the DFW supports on it. So I've deployed two number of VMs. but I guess like due to some driver, I'm not able to get the NIC up on this Ubuntu service. Maybe I have to use some another ISO. Maybe I have not deployed it properly. So no worries, anyhow, like I do have a VM. I just need to see whether the firewalls are being pushed or not on these boxes. So if you see as an environment, right now we have a vCenter. The same vCenter will be integrated to NSX-V, as well as the same one will be integrated to NSX-T. But always remember, in NSX-T, it is not a vCenter centric way by which we deploy the solutions. It is always transport nodes, which is equivalent to the ESX size that we have right now. This is the one of the ESX size. This has to be discovered. We will not really do a one-to-one mapping of a vCenter with NSX-T. So the same vCenter, you will see we will have NSX V installed. So if I'll take a look on installation and upgrade, host preparations. So if we will take a look, like I have just prepared NSX V on this cluster. So it's the cluster-based configurations. And I've just enabled firewalls. I haven't installed anything on the edge configs or the VXLAN configurations. So obviously, in this kind of situation, we won't see any controller concepts will be coming up. Controllers will only come up when we have a VXLAN coming into the pictures. Right now, it is just a DFW. Coming to the next thing, I haven't got time to really do the firewall configs. Let me write down some firewall configs, and that is the one that we are going to see in NSX-T migrations. So this is the one that you would be seeing in any production environment, like how DFW is being implemented on any of the ESXis, which is in the current NSX-V layers. Coming to NSX-T, I have a separate NSX-T. Yep, this is the one that I have done. And I was trying to install in multiple ways. We should be installing NSX-T on our current ESXi. So basically this inventory I was able to do. I hope like if you were following my sessions, we had to connect our vCenter. But remember this, that vCenter, when we integrate just like in NSX-V, we won't be able to see any plugins on vCenter. It is only to discover your inventory, which could be ESXi, could be your VM level things. So by the help of that, you are going to do the basic taggings and apply the related rules. So this is just a common vCenter integrations that we have done. It's 6.7. So 6.7 will not give you some more options of from a security point of view, how you would be trusting vCenter from NSX-T, but 7.0 does give you more features. So it's a simple integration, nothing. Now from the nodes wise, obviously it's going to do the inventory of your ESX size, and that's why like you will see the same cluster from ESX size levels will be discovered over here. So this is one of the NSX-T which I have already prepared. Why you're taking a look like why it is shown as a mismatch, because I was just trying to do some another shit of the things. It's fine, like mismatch, still fine. I'll show you that this ESXi does have a backend NDVS. But I haven't prepared this 6.142, which is under NSX-V, because it is being handled by NSX-V manager. Even if you will try to install it, it will not allow you to get it installed, because this does have the VIPs of NSX-V. So this is the interface which you would be commonly going to see. You should always have a separate cluster of V, and then you will have a separate cluster of NSX-T. So when you are done with the migrations, then you will be going to occupy the hardware and prepare with NSX-T. So obviously from the stepwise, if I do have 4-5 number of ESX size on it, we will do the migration. We will try to get some spaces on the blade wise, and then we will add those blades on the NSX-T. So this is a lift and shift method that we will be following, but obviously we need to see what is the availability of our hardwares in our racks. So I've done the configurations. This is one-to-one configurations on ESXi. That's why it is showing us a mismatch, because on a cluster level basis also I can do the configs. So I'll just tell you some basic demo. like this 143 ESXi servers, when I'll take a look on these boxes, you would find out that I have one VMNIC 0, which is behind of NDVS. Okay, this is very important, guys, and this is the one thing which we have to focus a lot. So just like in any ESXi, just paint and then I'll try to explain there. Just like any ESXi boxes, you have uplinks, right? Usually, it all depends upon you where you want to apply those uplinks. So uplink is basically equivalent to pNIC, the physical NIC, what you create on UCS boxes, the VNICs. So this is the NIC card adapters, which you would find out on ESXi's, which you will be able to see as a physical adapter. It can be called into any of the software layer of the switches. So at this moment, you have vSwitch, okay, which is going to be managed on device by device basis, like per ESXi will have a per vSwitches, or else you will have a DVS, which is the common methodologies which we have been following. And the another switch that will be created will be called as an NDVS. So this will be created by NSX T Manager. So you would find out there would be 3 sets of switches that would be created at the back end of ESXi. So if I go back to my current ESXi, which is my NSX-T. So this is NSX-T. You'll see that I don't have any physical adapter on my vSwitch 0. But I do have an adapter VMNIC number 0, which is serving my VM kernel adapters. Okay, so this is a separate switch which will be created on this ESXi. So in this situation, what one team can't do, the team of vSphere, they won't be able to really handle this physical adapters. This will be only handled by NSX. As like what we have been doing, if we would have seen any DVS, this is the DVS of NSX-V. You have your own set of uplinks, like you have uplink 0 and uplink number 1. So you have a control over here. You can actually call, you can delete, you can apply that things on V switches. But if you call that boxes with the uplink which is on the NDVS, this will be only going to be handled by NSX. So this is one kind of cringe you are going to face when we do the migrations to NSX layers. And when NSX-T was introduced, it always had to have like his own NDVS. But this is the major differences which you're going to see in 7.0. In 7.0, your DVS can handle the NSX defined port groups. So what I mean to say that, okay, just apply. So yeah, what I was trying to say that if you have DVS 7.0, whatever the operation that we are being doing at this moment, the same thing can be followed. But if we go with 6.7 as our DVS, which is actually NDVS, your VM kernels will be handled by NSX layers. So if you would see over here, this is one of the port group, and this is a very different kind of port group. This is actually created from NSX layers. You'll see this is the VM kernel 0, which is like to manage our ESXi layers, and it is using one of our NIC card, VMNIC number 0. So how we prepared it, like we do have another VMNIC. I can even add that VMNIC. That is also a possibility. But in this cases, no layer of DVS will be there. It will be NDVS only. And when you take a look onto the port groups, the segment that has been created, this is one of the segment which was created automatically when we did the like when I prepared my NSX-T ESXi boxes. So if we would see, this is mapped to somehow to vSwitch 0, which is basically non-tagged VLAN right now, because I'm doing this all things on nested ESXi. So it discovered that it doesn't have any VLAN, and it created automatically a port group. And this has been created from the NSX layers. And the same thing you can even see on the site. So this is kind of a segment which has been created by NSX-T, but it is not under any DBS. This is a separate network. Now, there are some customers who have been telling that when we go with this opaque network, we lose some of our monitoring stuff because the property of the opaque switches is very different to the DVPGs. Okay, so this is the point that we have to keep in our mind always. So it could be from a backup levels, or it could be from a monitoring basis, because ultimately you're going to change the layers of your virtual network when you go with this kind of migrations. And I'm telling, especially when you go with 6.7. But with 7.0, you can run your DVS from a vSphere level, and the same DVS can be used for your NSX layers. And the same thing which we have deployed in our another POC environment. So if you will take a look on this another POC environment, over here. And let me walk you through the system. Right now, I've deleted a lot of things on it because I needed to have an IP address. Start with my IPs. So if I go to Fabric, if I go to the nodes, we'll see there will be 3 number of ESXIs, which will be under vCenter. Yep, so these are all that 3 ESXi which we have right now. We have done the configurations on the cluster level basis. So anyway, you can follow the things. So many differences there. Now, if I go to one of our ESXi and look out to switch visualizations, remember that this is on 7.0 of DPS. You would find out that my uplinks is connected to our VDS. And whatever these switch segments that you want to create, you can create from NSX, or even you can create from the vSphere levels. That's not going to be make major differences, because ultimately, whenever you create a DVPG, either will be untagged on the basis of the VLANs, or when you define it as a VLAN, it will be tagged from either from DVS levels. So it's just a basic .1Q tagging that will be defined. So this is the differences that you can see. So when you take a look on the DVS, which we have right now, so this is the DVS. And in these situations, whatever the VLAN that we create right now, this is the one of the VLAN that we created, it would be under as like a DVPG, but as an N keyword, it will come as an NSX defined port groups. But at the same time, you can still create your port groups from your vSphere levels. So parallelly, the NSX team can also work, as well as the vSphere people can also work. You will be not going to be dependable only on the NSX, what we will be seeing with 6.7 as a version. And this was majorly the problem with most of the customers, like, I don't want to go with NDVS all across. I just need everything to be as like how in VMware we have been doing with the DVS level things. But exceptions will be there with the edges. You have to go still with NDVS, but it doesn't matter really with edges. It does matter on the ESX size levels. So any questions up to this moment, like on the differences between DVS and NDVS?
I have one question. Since you mentioned that there are some differences in how you want to upgrade for ESX 6.7 and 7, so which version would you recommend? Do you recommend we upgrade ESX to 7 first, then migrate, or we stay as is, then migrate?
See, like when we can do the migrations at the current versions of 6.7, but anyhow in future we have to move from NDVS to DVS. So there are multiple methods to do that migrations. But again, why we want to go with the another set of migration? Go with DBS 7.0 and then we will do the migrations. So that
Okay,
will be the public.
okay, is it right to say you recommend upgrading ESX to 7 first, then migrate NSX? Is it?
Yep, absolutely. And I'll tell you the another point why we should be doing in that way, which I'm going to demonstrate that. But yeah, from a basic point of view, yes, this is the way. Because you never
Yes.
know, like you're going to lose your modeling things and blah blah many other things. So because I haven't tested up to that level on backup things onto the monitoring level things.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what how much people can understand this because you know we're all new, but I'm also new, so I feel that it's quite difficult to capture two path of migration. So do you think it'll be making more sense if we only cover ESX 7 migration case for this meeting? It would be easier to understand.
Okay. Okay. So I have created the test bed for 7.0 right now. So I won't be able to demonstrate that things. So let's
Oh,
try to capture the things which is in 6.7. But I'm telling you
okay.
that in 7.0 we will be able to do in a better way. But ultimately it's just the DBS things which has a major differences.
Okay.
Um,
Got it. Yep.
I had a plan to really demonstrate both, but just for the sake of time, I couldn't get time to really create the test bed for 7.0. Because for 7.0, you can't go with 6.4.5 version of NSX. You need to go with 6.4.8 or 7. I don't remember that, but yes, this is the version. So anyhow, you have to upgrade your vCenter, upgrade your ESXi, upgrade your NSX, and then go for the migrations. So that is also one of the methods. Okay, great. So now we have NSX-T, which is already there in our system. So we will take a look. This is our NSX-T, which is already prepared. And this is our NSX-V. Now, from migration point of view, our use cases is that we have to do the migration of DFW, right? So obviously, when in the system of NSX-V, let me create some firewall rules. I haven't created that. So let me add a section. I'll tell that done it. Let me add a rules. So I'm writing rule number 1. Source I'll define with. There are many options to define your source. Either you can follow the IP set, you can follow the VM tags, the security group, blah blah, many methods that you have. Let me go with IP addresses at this moment. So I'll write on 10.1.1. Save it. Destination. It. And yeah, where you want to apply that. So there are multiple methods to apply your DFW. Again, it is always recommended that always look out to your perimeter boundaries and apply to that level. Don't apply all the time to DFW. It is not a recommended way to do the boundaries. But again, I can take another sessions only on the DFW. What should be the best way to really do the configurations? But in our environment, when we have VCD, VCD really solves a lot of issues there. So we'll try to come up on this part later. So this is one rule. Obviously, I want to allow or want to do anything. I want to log it. You can see the traffics and all. I won't be able to generate the traffic at this moment, but this is fine. You can save, but I want to publish it. So this context will be pushed on what levels? On the ESX size level. Same way, let me add more rules. And this time, let me write the rules on the basis of VM. So I'll define source as what? I can define with a security group. I can define on the basis of virtual machines. So I do have a virtual machine. Save it. Virtual machine. Apply that. Save it. Same way. And what is the benefit of using this method? If I map a particular VM and if I define an IP, those are huge differences between it. Obviously, we can come back to that. Okay, so this is one, and similarly, I would go to firewall settings. There is one very important thing: exclusion list. If you would see, exclusion list is kind of I want to exclude that VM all across. Like this will be a situation when the same vCenter is hosting your vCenter, right? So you should not break the same branch where you're like sitting. So that is the whole idea. You should exclude the VMs which is system defined. Like the NSX which is being running, we want to block that things. That's why like you have excluded list. So in this cases, my system is not sitting on this same vSphere, rather it is sitting on the another vSphere. That's why we have excluded list. But anyhow, like I just wanted to test this part. Okay, so idea is that you'll see this is a very good scope wise that it has got. Like it defined the scope that it will be only applied to a cluster level. It won't be applied on a DFW levels because he understand that these VMs are within that cluster itself. So it's a better method of applying the DFW. Then I want to do some another thing like I can create a security group. I'll tell that test any convention. I want to define our dynamic memberships on the basis of security tag, which contains test as a keyword, and we will try to hit next. You can apply some other rules, whatever you want to do, and then you want to finish it. So what I have defined as a security tag, like it should be having a tag as a test. So let me go to host and cluster, and we'll apply a tag over here. So add a tag with the name of test. Okay. Sign it. So it does have a tag named test. So whenever you have a test as a tag, then you can apply the rules on that basis. So again, in a multi-tenant environment, there would be a strategy that we need to really find it out on a tenant application and what kind of endpoints we have, we can apply the rules on that. So if it is a Windows and I want to apply the rules for all for Windows, I can do the taggings. Same way, I want to apply the rules only for this customer. So for that very purpose, we can have tagging options. Let me apply that things on test 2 also, because I want to test this part. Test, assign it. Perfect. All right, so I've created some set of rules. Obviously, those rules will be pushed on which layers? On the ESXi layers. So if you know the very basics, DFWs are applied on a VNIC level basis. So which you can see, just need to remember my command. So first thing is that when you go to NSX V manager, show DFW cluster all, it will show you that where the DFW has been enabled. So right now DFW has been enabled only on NSX V cluster. Okay, this is the naming convention that I have. Then similarly, you have to see on the ESXi level how the VMs has got those particular rules. So you can see by writing show DFW, remember the command, it should be domain 67, which will tell us that what host we have. Then we will see show host 14. Okay, within that host, which VMs are being setting. So this is test number 1 and test number 2. And then you will see show VM hyphen 33. So then it will show us the VNIC informations. So basically it has been discovered, but again, it depends like whether my VM has the tools or not. So why we got this error? Any idea, guys? Because VM is still there, but I'm not able to see those VM. It's all because like whether that VM has been discovered or not on the V layers or not. It depends upon the VMware tools, whether you have installed it or not, or whether it has generated the traffic or not. So in my situation, this test number one doesn't have the NIC adapters, so some trouble with this guy. I don't have internet over here, so I can't test it in a proper way. But yeah, the whole idea is that you will be able to discover that very VM when it generates some traffic. So if I take a look on IF, so I need to install that. So which we will see later on. But anyhow, for us, like the whole idea is that you need to see how the migrations will be done. So assume that we have some rules on these VMs at the backside, and those rules we need to migrate, whatever the rules that we have created. So if I go back, how I'm going to do the migrations? What will be the steps? Steps is pretty simple. You need to go to NSX-T, and there is one tool called migrate tool. But this migrate tool will be by default disabled, all because of security reasons. And I'll tell you, like I'll reconfirm that why it is required. Because if you try to explore these options again and again, it can actually delete the current configurations. So that's the basic idea. We'll try to explore that, what could be the trouble. But the whole idea is that you have to run this command on your NSX-T first. So if I go to my NSX-T manager, right? So I need to start the service with service, upgrade services. So always recommend that after upgrade, always disable this.
Has left the meeting.
And my group coordinator. So we will get some other option. Yep, this is one. So I'm going to start the migrate coordinator. Then you will be seeing the options on the NSX-T. Now, even this tool is going to give you option to do the various migrations. So this migration tool is for your NDVS to DVS migrations. So this will be kind of an inline migrations where the current NDVS, whatever the VNIC is mapped, you can move it to the DVS. So this is the method which we can adopt if we have migrated the things in 6.7. So this is the VDS migrations tool, which we can come back. Now, if I go back, let me just refresh my page. And we'll see what are the backend automations options we have for the migrations. Come back. And in this situation, as far as I remember, let's see. We would have a upgrade probability. So basically, these are the logs that you should be always going to follow while doing the migrations. So So we can actually view what is happening in the backside. So this log span can be very helpful for that. Okay, so let me come back. I can just log it out. Oops. All right, so there are multiple methods. Oh, And the same set of services you have to also enable for your upgrades. I was trying to do the upgrade of 3.0 to 3.1. Just because of my licenses, I can't do that. So I have to recreate the system. Let me go back to my page. Now you will see there are two options are there. One is standard migration modes and one is advanced migration modes. Now, in standard, you are going to see NSX for vSphere. Like if you have your edges, your DLR running on native vCenter, then you have to use this tool. If you have to do just the vSphere networking migrations, then you can go with this option. But if you want to do with vRealize, then you can explore these options. So all the detail has been given. It's all about like you need to discover your current environment, and then you can start to explore the options there. But the one which we need to explore is DFW. Okay, so this is a lift and shift kind of migrations, or else you can go with inline migrations. So I'll try to explain what is the difference between these two set of migrations. Remember that this is only available in 3.1. It's not available on 3.0. It's only supported from 3.1 versions, which is the current version, like the most current version of NSX-T. So what happens with DFW? DFW migration is paint. This what is going to do. You have NSX-T. Okay, you would have your own set of vCenter, and this vCenter will be mapped with one NSX. So obviously NSX has written the plugin basically has written a lot of number of DFW rules. Okay, so this rule will be migrated with the help of DFW. So whatever the rules which is there, the same rule will be pushed on NSX-T layers. But remember, from an ESXi point of view, the VM will be sitting on these boxes itself, right? Which will be redefined. So this is being prepared from NSX-V, and the VMs are being running over there. At the same time, if you have a cluster of your NSX-T ESXi, like this is the ESXi which we have, which is NSX-T prepared, the one that we have already done. So after doing the migration, the expectation is that you do the vMotion of your VM from V to T. Now, in this situation, even if you want to come out of this vCenter also, yes, you can do that. Like maybe this ESXi might be sitting another vCenter. Yes, you can do. But again, you need to have vCenter to vCenter connectivity, and you must have the support of migrating from one vCenter to the other vCenter. But in our situation, both of the vCenters are in the same, but it's the same vCenter. It's not two different vCenters. So even that option is also available. So this is kind of a lift and shift. You copy the configurations of DFW, you migrate the VM, okay, make him to learn because NSX-T has to learn the VM attributes, and the rules will be applied to it. Because ultimately the rules will be applied on a VM layers. So NSX-T will learn the VMs, and on the basis of the rules will be pushed on it. So this is the option that I'm showing you over here. This is the option, DFW only. But the another option is that distributed firewall host and workloads. So this is kind of an inline migrations. So in inline migrations, the difference is that you would have NSX-T. Okay, NSX-T obviously is going to talk to vCenter. Okay, and vCenter does have ESXi. And this vCenter is also mapped with NSX-V. And this NSX-V has prepared this ESXi. So maybe like you have two sets of ESXi. I'm just thinking as an example. So idea is that the first phase will be pretty same. You would have DFW all that DFW rules will be going to be copied on NSX-T layers. Okay, so this is DFW only. But when we tell that compute and work nodes also, so in that cases, if you have a cluster of ESXi, it is going to ask you that this ESXi, now it is NSX we prepared. Now later on, we will be going to prepare it for NSX-T. So from automation point of view, you need to define what uplinks you want to prepare for NSX-T, which could be a DBS 7.0 or could be NDBS, could be any of them. But the idea is that one by one the migrations will happen, like installation of web will happen. So you need to have your DRS disabled, by which the VMs, whatever which is sitting down over here on both of the boxes, first it will be migrated on the another ESXi. It will get deinstallation of NSX-V web. Then NSX-T will install its own related web. It will prepare that ESXi, and then the VM will be migrated back to the same ESXi. Now, from a rack point of view, yes, the options will be given. You can define which ESXi you want to prepare first, second, third, fourth. You have that options. So probably when I was doing those preparation, you would see that, yeah, even the VM kernel got migrated. So this is one result that I got it at that time. So in that case, yes. So this was the option: migration order across the board. So you want to do serially or you want to do parallel. So this is basically for your migration of your host. Now, what I have observed while doing this migration, the ESXi need not to do the reloads. It was without any reloads, and the web got installed. Then the whole idea is that there would be a lot of vMotions that you can expect in that cluster. These options can be explored only when you have less number of plates. Some organization can be the situations. So let me do this time DFW only, because anyhow I don't have. I have already prepared NSX-T. So how are we going to do that? Simple, easy. Get started. Just click there. Yep. So what is going to ask me? First thing is that select the NSX for vSphere associated vCenter. So it's going to ask me that where is that very vCenter. So I'll tell that my vCenter IP is this. Yeah. So it actually detected that. Like this is the current vCenter. So you have to add that vCenter on your computer. So and then it's going to ask me the NSX. So NSX manager, this is 55. And this is very important to check it out. What's going to happen step by step. Okay, so T got connected to both of the vCenter as well as to NSX-V. So it detected that, okay, 6.4.5 is the version and 6.7.0. So one thing is that, like for migration coordinator, the version should at least be 6.4.5. If it is below that version, this won't work. So that's good from our current plan. We have 6.4.5. So what is the thing? Next thing is that import the configurations. So I'm going to start to import it. So it's going to do the pre-checks. It's going to import the vSphere networking configurations. Like it's trying to understand what is the current configurations. So ultimately, it's a YAML which is being created at the backend. It's not much. See, we already started the migrations, so that's why you won't be able to see. I think it is learning those things. So it's trying to understand what are the components which is there. But now one thing which I want to really you guys to take a look. I have this vCenter. This is the DVS of 6.7. As like in any DVS, we would always obviously create some VLAN port groups, some port groups without the VLANs. Now, if we go to 6.7, okay, I'm just putting a question. If we go to 6.7, we know that it is only NDVS that will be prepared. We don't have option of DVS. But when we go with 7.0, we can still go with the like 7.0. But the differences which I want to really point it out over here, that the port group which we create, this one, it can get occupied on the DVS level, but whether the same DVS, sorry, the same DVPG, can it occupied on NDVS levels? That's the thing which I need to you guys to focus on. Like in this case is, let it be I do have VMs which is sitting on VLAN 1959. So whether this will be migrated or not. So that's the one thing that I need you guys to focus on. Okay, so this import has been done. If you have like edge implementations, so in that cases you can do the things. So right now I discovered that we have two VMs which is sitting on VLAN 195, and we have some port groups like port group number 1, port group number 2. This is one port group, basically that's uplink port group, and port group 3, and then we have management port group, which is on VLAN 0. Okay, so this is great. You can look out to the another topological view, like how many hosts is present, and from L3 levels also. So then you can actually have a view point of it. So at this moment, we have not done the migration, but just imported the components and understood, it realized what are the components which is at the view levels. All right, so next phase is what? It's going to ask me a lot number of questions, because remember we are making changes from B to T. Some of the things will be supported on T, but not everything. And that is the thing that you are going to get as a question as a resolve configurations. So let's try to understand what are those set of conflicts. So MS service, if I take a look, it's going to tell me that some of the instances, basically these are the services which is being created on a DFW levels that can be applied. Like app service L7 cannot be migrated, okay, because it is not supported on NSX-T. So this is basically the application services which you create on your DFW that is being shown out of it, which is fine. I would try to accept it, accept the recommendation, accept it, submit it. Now, the next thing is again on the applications again. What are the configurations which can be supported, like syslog collectors, dump collectors, and some Microsoft services. So I don't know like which customers is being still using Microsoft Exchange of 2007 or 2001. Yes, not at all. Accept recommendation, accept it, submit it. Now the next one is L2. So when you go back with more number of configurations, like whatever you have in your current environment, all that recommendations will come in. So now the next thing is this part. L2, and I would say just focus on this part more properly. It is telling that choose a VLAN segment for VLAN DB portfolio. Instances are pre-filled with the recommendation action inputs if applicable. So it's telling very clearly that there are some port groups, but I need to get the value. Like right now, it is port group number 1, PG2, PG3, but what will be the value in NSX-T? And this actually happened because right now my MDBS doesn't understand the port group languages. Okay, it will have its own set of format of creating the VLANs there. So if you go back, these are my port groups. Obviously, we will have the VM sitting on these very port groups. You should prepare those segments on NDBS so that you can migrate there. And that is a question that is being asked. Like right now, it is a management port group. Saying very clearly, management port group is configured with VLAN 0. Please choose a VLAN for 2 segments below that and have a VLAN there. So it's asking a question, edit your inputs. What will be the port group name? Like what is the migrations? So if you have experience of working with HCX, it's a similar kind of tools what it's given as an option. Like over here, this is this very port group, what will be the destination port group? So what will be the migration steps? Whatever the port groups which you have as a VLAN, you have to create that very VLAN port group on NSX layers. Then only you can start with the migrations. So in this cases, obviously, the APIs can be used, and we need to prepare those VLAN segment on the NSX layers. But if we go with DBS 7.0, do we need to do those things? Answer is no, because you are going to sit down on the same DBS. I hope you guys are getting my concepts, like what is the differences between with this set of migration and 7.0. Any questions on this?
So basically, if we're going with 6.7, we need to create the port groups on the NBDS as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So if you have some VLAN like VLAN 1959, so let me create it. And in that case, I have to go back because it has not realized my new configurations. Would I need to say that? Six. If I go there and if I see that I do have VLAN, because remember, like in our environment, it will be VLAN based. It won't be like plain VLAN. It's not going to have like non-VLAN photos. You can go to your management cluster. So if you go to segments, we need to create those segments before 199, where you will create on your VLAN transport zone. On that VLAN 159. Save it. Where you will see that would be created. Would be created over here. It will take some time. For a while. This topic takes time. I have seen most of the time. It takes time. So now if I go back over here on T layers. Did I create it? Yep, I created it. Should expect it to be created. Spelled by Y. Oh, it shouldn't take that number of time. It should. Oh, okay. So actually, that will be realized when I would require it. Let's see, like it should be there on the NDBS levels, which you can find out in the way. Basically, what's the idea? This is the VLAN that you have created, but it is contained where? Like it is contained on the NSX-T layers. So if this I would have created earlier, I would have started the migration. in that cases, I would be able to do select the options. Like, okay, this is the VLAN over here on the DBS level, but in the NDBS, I will define this as a port groups. So right now, I can't input that value. You will be able to see that very clearly. But now I have not realized it. So what I can do, I can cancel it, go to previous, go to back, overview, do the progress. Basically, it will go and take some time to go to the default state. What I've done, I've just canceled it, and I want to start the process once again.
Yeah, okay.
So it will start to realize that, okay, this VLAN app, because ultimately it's the automations of that. It's nothing else. System. Oops. We're able to see an ADS, which we have. The endpoint is attached to this output, which is a segment in NSX T levels. Segments. Obviously, I don't have any groups. You can define a groups also, and you can apply a DFW on that basis. It's fine. And just give a bit. Unexpected, I believe. Okay, fair enough. I'll just try to see that part later. But yeah, continue. It's going to ask me the same question. I'm going to accept the recommendation, submit it. Now it's going to ask me again, accept the recommendation, submit it. All right, so let me continue. It's going to tell me that, okay, I'm going to do the configs, and then it can start it. So now I will start to migrate. So ultimately, what's going to happen? It's going to actually copy the configurations of your vSphere DFW, and that's going to be prepared on the NSX-T levels. So just for your sake, if I go back to security, DFW, I haven't got anything. Let's see what's going to happen there. Now the configs has been not pushed. You can see it is still layer 3, but remember that we have created tenant one, some rules on that very column. We're ready to migrate, logical configurations, and it will show you what are the things that I'm migrating to, like transport zone, max set, security groups. So how many number of configurations that I'm going to push. And the same thing you can look out from this box. So from this box, you can get to know what is the status of your upgrades, sorry, of your migrations. So it depends upon your configs, ultimately. If you have a big set of configs, it's just going to take some time. Let's try to see the progress. Go back, go to yeah, you can see there are some rules that is created. So now, whatever VMs tagging that we have mentioned, so this is one set of group. This is test2 VM. Similarly, This is the IP address group because we have written IP address. So IP address sets will be coming as an IP address group. And this is the another one. So basically, you are going to find out those things in inventory, groups wise. So like test one, who is that very member? So it does have this member who has that IP 10.1.1. So I remember that that very test VM, I have defined this as an IP. Then this was the tags, what we have mentioned. Right now, the tags will appear up. But again, depending upon if I have VMware tools installed and whether the traffics are being generated. This is the IP set, what we have written. This is the another IP set, what has been written. That got migrated. Done. So all that migrations happened on NSX T layers. Basically, the configurations. What we are doing is a DFW, system-based configs, security group, IP address, default rules, blah, blah, many things. But remember that this is one other thing which would be also going to be migrated. This is CPU memory threshold profiling. Recommendation is that you should make a changes on this profiling. This is basically for DFW only. If you remember or not, like last year we had an issue with DFW where like the CPU utilization was going pretty high on every ESF side. And that was all because that DFW became crazy. So the idea is that if I remember the command, let me go back to NSX manager. Oh, sorry, if I go to NSX CLI, there is one threshold which is always defined for DFW. So when you take a look at get firewall, and if you take a look at the thresholds, this is a set of threshold which has been mentioned. Now, usually this threshold is around 90%. We'll see. It is not a good context. It is always recommended that you should have 80%. At least in NSX-T, it is 90%. In NSX-V, it is by default 100%, which must be changed to 80%. Otherwise, if DFW expect to have more number of memory, you're going to get the throttling issues. Okay. But remember, CPUs, we can't control it. CPUs, though like the tone says that your CPUs comes up there, but no, it's only memory that you can control. But if you're able to contain the things in the memory side, at least like CPU will be much better. So this is one thing which is recommended. We need to make the changes there. This is one thing. So this profiling is also getting copied. And then what is the next thing? What we should do as a next part? We have done the migrations, right? What is the next thing that we should do?
vMotion?
Yep, that's the next thing. vMotion your VMs, because I just copied all the policies and then start to do the vMotion. Test one, vMotion to 143. Right now, I don't have a common storage. Oh, sorry. So I'm going to move it, 143, next. It's going to ask me which network. So while doing the vMotion, I should have that very port group. So right now, you're able to see any port groups? No, I'm not able to see that. If I go and browse it, I do have only some specific port groups. So I have to create it. I'm not sure like why it was not created 1959. I need to double check on that. Maybe my context on the preparation of my host wasn't right. So I think I know what is the problem. Let's go to the session. Host and sound. I'll tell you what. See, I can prepare my host by individually, but I have prepared my host even through my profiles, that is transport node profile. So what is the thing that I have to do? I have to go to profile, transport node profile, go and edit it. See, this is another VLAN transfer. I don't need this one. Rather, I need this one. So, because this transport zone is the one that I have used. All right, so if we go back to networking, so the whole idea is that I have not prepared the host properly. So that was the thing. So got stuck on the creation of that.
So ideally, we would be able to see that network that we created on the NVDS, and then we would be migrating.
Yep, that is the thing. So while doing the migration, you have to choose which VLAN port group you have to get it in. Because remember, this VLAN port group is on NDBS level, not on the DBS level.
Okay.
But if it has
So,
DBS 7.0,
so till this point, we would not be having any downtime because the VM would be there on that VXLAN network or VLAN network, whatever it is, right?
yep. So if I would have created the VLAN on this transport zone, because this is the transport zone where I have prepared my host. I was assuming that I've got this in. So okay, no, just bear with it. It's going to take some time. I know it takes time, but should not take that long. Yeah, but the whole idea is that when you will be moving it from here to here, next, next, next. Yep, so you can see that the one has been created. Next. So prepare that code groups and then migrate it. So always take a note, like create an Excel sheet. What is this VM is part of? And obviously you should have that code group created on the NSX-T levels. So it's getting migrated because I don't have common storage, so I can't do hot migrations. Now if you come back, this is what getting back. So ultimately, I confuse my ESXi by doing two VLAN transports, which is not right. We should always have prepared either from cluster level basis the conflicts of NSX-T preparation, or else like individual. But there's no reason why you should be going with individual conflicts if you have a prepared format. So after a while, you will see the NSX-T defined port groups will be there available. The motions will be successful. And yep, it's getting relocated. And then things will work out. So this is the way that you have to migrate. Always prepare those VLAN port groups. But if it is 7.0, you need not create that. So this is the only the changes that you can expect. But at the later stages, you have to do the migration of ending those. So that's the changes. Now, done. So what you should be doing on the migration page? Continue. I just want to finish. So he's telling like in this last step, you must migrate the workloads, which we have been doing that. If you have completed that things, finish it, done. Class your work is done. Okay. So this was what? This was only DFW only migrations. But if I would have chosen migrations where I would have prepared my host also with that, you could go with that options also. So in these cases, I have like one blade and I have prepared it and I can do this part. But if you don't have more number of blades, you can still do the inline migrations. So that is also the options that you can adopt. So how you can do that? Just finish it. Just cancel the migration. It's fine. But I'll tell you one side effect of it. Let's do the cancel of migrations. Just do it sometime. It takes time to finish it. I'll tell you the another side effect of it. So whole idea is that you should always have your rules created, verify how many rules you have pushed. Okay. What about your taggings? So basically, inventory part, whether you created the groups or not, you have the tags or not. Now, this is the part which I would take some time to really understand, because tagging is one thing which can't be done. Okay, so we need to see that. Next, put the tag created. First, place the tag. So, so this is one, but remember that what the tag is not coming. The tag which we have done from vSphere, right? Go back. That's two. You see this tag's been coming up. So this is the this is the thing which you can't do. It's a vSphere tags, which I found out that doesn't work. Okay. So do we have any tagging? I don't think so. Any tagging on the VMware instance. So maybe we have to inventory that. Or else, like, you can still add the tags and apply the tags on the inventory tag of instance. So that's the one task. It's angles. We're expecting that all the VM workload will have to migrate. So I'm going to just stop it. I know it's going to take some time. But yeah, if I would like to explore the options of workload node migrations, what are the steps that you're going to see as a new one? It's going to ask you that if I do have the host, it's going to ask me that whether you want to do the manual way of preparing the host, like one by one. You can choose which ESXi you want to prepare first, and then I will start to the vMotion. Then obviously you have to mention the port profiles, like that's uplink profile configurations, and then it's going to tell that which DBS you're going to delete it. Because ultimately, when you're moving everything to NDBS, there won't be any use of DBS, so DBS will be deleted. And then you will be doing the migration process. So this is only the differences that you're going to see in inline migrations. Okay, so only the thing that I was telling, you should prepare the VLANs. That is must. All right, so any questions up to this moment? So this time of this cover. Yep. Any question from anyone? So maybe click the new budget. Yeah. So I have to finish in that. Okay, so now if I go back to overview, let me start another set of migration. I'll show you the other options. Okay, so I want to do the migrations once again. I'll tell recenter. And I'm going to input. This time I'm choosing the other method. Right. Yeah, so this is the situation I'm telling you, like now if I wanted to do some another set of applications, so like I want to repeat the migrations. Right. Telling a situation like if I restart my migrations, what's going to happen? I start it, and this time I've chosen other option. Like I want to prepare the host also. Remember, this DFW is still there. And let it import the configs once again. So again, what it's doing, again from vCenter, it is analyzing the configs, copying those configs. Trying to understand. Okay, so that will be migrated, switch it on. But obviously in the real environment, we won't be doing this, like we want to stop it. Okay, so let's go back to the migrations. Let's see. Okay, let me continue it. It's going to ask me the same questions again, but this time it is going to ask me some other further questions. Because we have prepared this host because we are going to input the steps of preparing the host also. So it's going to ask me some basic question like profile this time. What is this question? CDP is not supported for the migration. VDS 6.7 will make it without CDP config. Who use that? I don't use that. Accept it. Submit it. Same way, L2. Choose a VLAN. Same way, the same question. I'll tell that, okay, I'm not going to import it right now. Submit it. And similarly, it's going to tell me that what should be the VLAN. So it detected that there is a VLAN 1959 and I have written the same. So accept the recommendation. Submit it. Same way, we will have some other option of services. Okay, so it's asking a question. During the host migration stage, user can select migration mode as in place or maintenance for any cluster. In place of maintenance, like maintenance mode option indicates whether user would like to manually bring host to maintenance mode or whether the coordinator will do that. So you have that options there. So I'll tell alternative. I can just submit it. Accept the recommendation, accept it, submit it. Same way, other basic question, NSX-T only support IGMP snooper. So do we use any IGMP multicasting? No, we don't do that. Accept it, submit it. Right? Remember, we have already done the migration of the configs. So let it get submitted. So this test one, test two. There, it is trying to submit it. We'll see. Host search. So what is asking a question? What will be the configuration of the host search? So This is asking question for one portal. This is the ESX app. Like how you want to prepare it. Right now, every link is there on the DVS level, but obviously you have to prepare it for the NDVS levels. So that's the question. I'll tell that, okay, I want to go with source map. So it's going to create what? Uplink profile. The profile which I have shown you earlier. Profile, which is this one. Uplink profiles. And let's continue. Let's start it migrate. So it's going to again do the context there. Okay. And let's try to notice down the things on the security side. Most of the configuration has been already pushed, right? So let's go back. The same thing you can monitor from this guy. What happened? You copied the configuration 2 times, right? So if you have like 200, 300 number of rules, or maybe like many number of rules, you get a double the amount. So do the migration only once. Don't do multiple times. So this is the trouble that will be faced. Good thing is that you should realize that it is the same set of conflicts, but all like we have chosen 2 different methods. I thought that, okay, we need to do the copying of the policies once again. So when we plan it in one shot. At least like it didn't delete it. Otherwise, we would have faced a lot of troubles. So when I think it, we do that. Remember that we have the DVS still there. Uplinks of that device, like of that NSX-T boxes, still there, because we have not reached to the option of prepare the infrastructures. It's trying to complete it. Sometimes it gets stuck on sometime like maybe you can start it once again. That is fine. I've noticed that one error sometimes it comes up. It's basically you have to refresh the things. But again, it won't actually give a bad effect on your property. So 2 times the same numbers. So you can delete it. That is one option that you can follow. So did you understand the migrations or not? I think this is all what I can show right now. In the next sessions, I'm planning that we will be going with BCD networking with NSX-T.
If you can just